Happy Friday mga katribu and welcome to another episode of Kalingang KaTribu Legal Diaries. I am Venice Bautista and today we are once again joined by Aranas Cruz, Araneta Parker, and Faustino Law Offices, Associate Lawyer Attorney Alfred Campañano. So good afternoon, Attorney!
Ayan, good afternoon, Ms. Venice. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello, ayan. So our topic for today is the Sangguniang Kabataan and Barangay Elections. Kasi nga, this week lang, in-announce nga ng Comelec na magre-resume na this coming June or July daw yung voter registration for the SK and Barangay elections. So bakit nga
Mhm.
ba mahalaga na bumoto tayo dito sa smallest unit of government sa bansa natin? Alamin natin yan kasama si Attorney.
Ah,
Okay. So first, ano po ba yung Sangguniang Kabataan?
ang Sangguniang Kabataan is basically your youth council, no?
Mhm.
In the barangay level. So it's composed of 8 members. One is of course a chairperson, and then its obligation is basically to create policies or enact resolutions to ensure that the youth is represented at the barangay level. And at the same time, parang ang objective niyan is that on the grassroots level, nakikita natin that the youth as a group is being promoted and protected.
I see. So when we say youth, how young? What is the age parang requirement for the SK?
Well, for SK, if I'm not mistaken, the youngest is of course, 18, pero hindi siya pwedeng mas maging older than 24 years old, no? But that
Mm.
is for being elected as a member of the Sangguniang Kabataan. Pero
Mhm.
meron din kasi tayong tinatawag na yung katipunan ng kabataan. Basically, itong katipunan ng kabataan is just your fancy word to refer to the constituents of the Sangguniang Kabataan. No? So basically
Mm.
sila yung mga members of the barangay who is between 15 years old to 30 years old, and they are
Mm-mm.
registered with Comelec. So sila yung parang nagboboto, sila yung mag-i-elect sa Sangguniang Kabataan. Pero aside from being the constituents or yung mga young constituents of the Sangguniang Kabataan, they
Mhm.
are also obviously the policy making body, no,
Oh.
of the this entire plot, to involve the youth in in governance, especially
Mhm.
in the barangay level.
I see. So when and why was this established?
It was established in 1975, no? But
Mhm.
the Sangguniang Kabataan is actually your successor to the Kabataang Barangay. This was created during the well, this was created at some time, no, during the this was created during the Marcos era.
Aha.
This is so para as early as then para tinitignan na rin talaga na the kabataang barangay or is being seen, talagang nakikita na agad, no, yung importance ng kabataan in participating in governance even
Mhm.
at the local level. However, there were certain issues then that talaga na plague ang kabataang barangay, na mga issues of corruption, issues on absence of transparency and promoting non-democratic principles back then.
Mhm.
So para anong nangyari, na-abolish siya. So para medyo kasi parang
Ah.
na ano na nabahira, no, ng hindi magandang issues
Yeah.
ang kabataang barangay. That's why in 1975 it was replaced by your Sangguniang Kabataan.
I see. Pero matagal na rin pala siya. Yeah. And,
Parang technically masasabi mo medyo matagal na yan because the
mm-mm.
concept of youth involvement at the barangay level is something not really novel kung tutuusin, di ba? Kasi nga as early as in the 1970s pa atras, meron na ang sangguniang ang meron na ang kabataang barangay.
Mm-mm.
Pero kasi because of those issues that I've mentioned, pinalitan siya ng sangguniang kabataan na kung saan obviously there are certain laid down meron ng mas clear concept and mas clear na ang powers and authorities and objectives of the Sangguniang Kabataan that was not seen in the
Previous.
kabataang barangay.
Yeah. So there's like a revamping kuno na naganap.
Oo, exactly. That's that's the perfect word for it. It's a revamping of
Aha.
of youth involvement at the barangay level.
Yes. Okay. So what are the powers naman po and the functions of the Sangguniang Kabataan?
Actually, in the powers of the Sangguniang Kabataan, you can see that in the SK Reform Act, no, Section 8. Pero kung titingnan natin, trying to simplify the powers and functions, the Sangguniang Kabataan basically is that sector of the barangay that is in charge of creating this thing you call the comprehensive barangay youth development plan. So actually there is a process that goes into yung kaya para makikita mo yung may basketball court, may paliga.
Yeah.
Kasi like, 'di ba? Parang it's somehow, no, from observation, it's a source of disdain for some individuals. Pero there's a process to it. Kasi apparently, those kinds of activities form part of the youth development plan at the barangay level. So sila yung in charge dyan. So sila yung magko-conceptualize ng mga activities for the youth, which somehow is mostly yun nga, papageant at saka mga paliga, no? But of course, if this elected youths would, put more effort, siguro may actually come up with other ideas to ensure the promotion of youth welfare. Parang ganyan yung idea niya. Tapos also, yung mga practical side niyan, it's that the SK in itself are vested with certain corporate powers to enter into transactions, whether with public instrumentalities, government corporations, or controlled corporations, or yung mga, even mga private organizations, they can also contract with this individual, with these entities, to again create policies or create activities to promote the welfare of the youth. So yun, pero tapos obviously they can organize themselves as well para siyang executive branch ng ating government. They can organize themselves in a way that will help them enact and implement whatever let's say initiatives that they have, obviously governing and promoting the welfare of the youth.
So this is a really good gateway for our youths who want to really play a role in our government, no?
Exactly.
So how often po is the election for SK and the barangay?
The SK and barangay elections is normally held every 3 years. No? Synchronous yan, lagi sila magkasabay. So, it's basically, syempre, yung minimimit din niya yung local government, local elections in a sense na 3 years din ang term. So, parang ganun din. Kasi the local government code envisions the barangay and the elections in the barangay level to be done in an expeditious manner, because remember, the barangay is the smallest unit supposedly of governance. So diyan sila ang in charge of primary implementation,
Yes.
or yung mga implementation of policies, and even on dispute resolutions. Kaya meron tayong tinatawag na mga katarungang pambarangay. So sila at that level, sila yung talagang immediate na malalapitan agad ng mga tao should they want to avail of government services. So in that regard, nakikita natin na dapat mabilis din ang turnover. No? Mabilisan dapat ang pagpalit ng leaders if there's a need to replace them, or mabilis din ang transition of power kung talaga magkakaroon ng palitan ng leadership at the barangay level.
I see. So there we go. Nakakatawa naman na yun nga, we have youth representatives in our community. Although, kasi parang nga nagkakaroon ng, when it comes to politics season like ngayong election, di ba? Medyo mahirap yung mga nakikita natin sa social media saying, yung from the adults when they say na parang yung mga kabataan ngayon, wala namang ano.
Pero hindi to me, that's wrong, no? While I at some point in time, no, I subscribe to the idea na paliga at papageant lang naman ang pinapagawa nila. Pero I think this is the way the organization,
yes,
how you organize and the logistics of handling these kinds of events or activities
yes.
it's already an introduction for the youth for governance. But obviously we can try to promote or we can try to encourage these SK leaders to go for more activities which they can, no? But I think it's unfair for us to devalue these kinds of events because primarily ano ba talaga ang ine-enjoy dapat ng kabataan? They're not really there to give too much attention to ano, di ba? You want them to enjoy their youth as well. So, makikita mo na yun naman talaga kadalasan ng mga activities na i-host ng SK. Because yan yung mga bagay na normally may enjoy ng kabataan eh.
True. Kasi they're only young for such a short time. There are so many...
Exactly.
Diba,
We're only young, ma'am. We're only young.
We're only young.
For such a short time. Diba?
Exactly.
Pwede ba tayong maging miyembro ng katipunan ng kabataan, no, under the law.
Yes. So there you go. So dito pa lang tayo nagsisimula, no? Marami tayong tatalakayin. So we'll discuss more about this barangay and SK elections once we return.
Fun and inspiring na kwentuhan? Sagot na yan ang programang Spotlight ng Daily Tribune. Makipagkwentuhan at kilalanin ng iba't ibang personalidad na kilala sa kani-kanilang larangan. Manood at makinig sa mga inspiring stories na kanilang ibabahagi kasama si Nina Ventura at Jojo Silvestre. Be ready ng mamangha at matuwa every Thursday alas 2 ng hapon dito lang sa Daily Tribune Facebook page at Tribune Now on YouTube. Alamin ang latest entertainment at sa mga paborito nyong celebrities kasama si Pocholo Concepcion sa programang What's Up. Makibanding at kwentuhan kasama ang mga kilalang personalidad sa entertainment industry. Sama-sama natin silang kilalanin at silipin ang makulay nilang mundo every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Kaya sit back and relax lang kayo mga katribu. Hanapin at ilike ang Daily Tribune Facebook page at Tribune Now on YouTube. Dahil sagot na namin ang masayang kwentuhan dito lang sa What's Up. Mapalutong bahay man o sumptuous meal for special occasions, sagot na kayo ng tropang Kalanpag. Dahil atid sa inyo ng Daily Tribune ang fun and exciting cooking show na Kalanpag, manood at matuto kung paano lutuin ang mga favorite nyong recipes. Sabayan pa ng fun and inspiring na kwentuhan sa kusina. I-upgrade na rin natin ang mga nakasanayang traditional dish ng pamilya. Plus, healthy tipid tips na ibabahagi ng tropang Kalanpag. Matuto, mabusog at good vibes dito lang sa Kalanpag tuwing Lunes, 10:30 a.m. sa Daily Tribune Facebook page at Tribune Now on YouTube.
Welcome back to Kalingang KaTribu Legal Diaries. We are still with Attorney Alfred and we are still talking about the SK and the barangay elections. Okay, so I want to know, Attorney, can those running for barangay posts represent political parties?
Sorry, nakamute pala ako. The answer there is no. Under the provisions on the barangay elections, I think that's section 34. Section 34 thereof. The barangay elections is non-partisan, no? Which is parang somehow kung makikita mo, that's kind of weird. Kasi technically when you campaign when you campaign, that's basically a political activity. So if you want to be elected as a kagawad or want to be as a barangay chairman, then that's basically, in a sense, a political act. That's a partisan act. Pero what the local government code is intending to refer here is the barangay election should not be a partisan activity, because as I've mentioned a while ago, the barangay is the smallest unit. It's in charge of implementing government policies, plans, projects, and forum for disputes. So sila yung, kunwari, merong aid. Di ba? Meron yung parang, for example, God forbid, nagkaroon ng malaking flood sa Makati. The local government, your barangays will be the front runners to front runners, sorry. They will be the frontliners in the distribution of relief goods. Diba? Or for example, in the barangay, nag-away kayo ng kapitbahay ninyo, then sila yung una mong lalapitan, no? Of course, subject to certain exceptions, but you have to go through the katarungan pambarangay in order to first amicably settle their dispute. Now, why am I discussing these things? Because the idea of the barangay elections, no, and even the barangay itself, dapat walang bahid ng politika, no? Yan yung parang sinasabi natin diyan. Because nakikita mo pa lang, 'di ba, in the recently concluded elections. Nakikita natin diyan na even until now may mga tao pa din na mainit ang 'di ba, mainit pa din. Or very, very fresh pa sa kanila ang results. Na talagang until now they're still debating, they're discussing. So politics or partisan activity is quite divisive, and that is something that we don't want to be introduced at the barangay level. Kasi imagine na nanalo, for example, in barangay A, si Uniteam, for example. Tapos nangyari, nalaman nila na kakamping si isa. Di ba? Parang ganyan nangyayari. Makikita natin that biases can actually happen there. Baka naman, di ba, parang pwede sabihin na magkaroon ng priority muna sa mga political ally as opposed to non-political ally. Or in the reverse, pwede rin gano'n na mangyari, di ba? So that is something that we don't want, especially when this unit, no, the barangay level, is something na will be engaged in this kinds of distribution. So imagine that na parang na because of biases of political affiliation, kaya nangyari hindi ka na nabibigyan ng relief good in times of calamity. Or parang because of political biases, ang nangyayari hindi na nagiging neutral ang katarungan pambarangay. So there are certain debilitating effects of politics if it reaches the barangay level.
And actually, I personally have some experiences with that. Pero that's for another episode. But yes, it can get complicated nga naman po, no, if naging sila, may kaalyado. So what I want to ask naman now is, with the SK and the barangay elections, we're curious why it's separated from the local and the national elections.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Why are the SK and the barangay elections separated from the local and the national elections?
They are separated, as I've already discussed, because we want to preserve the non-partisan elections of the barangay at the barangay and SK level. So makikita mo dyan syempre, di ba, na if during local elections and national elections, dyan talaga nagkakaroon ng pangangampanya. Talagang very active ang political parties, pressure groups, yung mga tinatawag mong mga pressure groups or interest groups, di ba? So dyan mo makikita yung talagang mainit at talagang very active ang pangangampanya nila for and against a specific candidate or a specific political party. So we separate the barangay and SK election because at the height of that campaigning, baka maisama si barangay. And that is something, again, we do not want to happen because electioneering or any partisan activity is divisive. And we don't want to introduce that kind of division pag nandun na tayo in the barangay level and when we're giving primary care and primary service to each and every one regardless of political beliefs.
Yes, and maliit na nga yung sakop nila, magkakaroon pa ng division, 'di ba? Ang
Exactly.
pangit. Yeah. So, ito for the last question, we're curious about this because we have witnessed a few years na talaga napopostpone yung mga barangay elections natin. So, we're wondering why. How come they're always or often postponed?
I don't know. kasi, kasi
Isn't it like
depending,
important?
the postponement of the barangay elections is provided for under the local government code. And the grounds there is quite parang very broad.
Mhm.
Could be because of force majeure or for other justifiable cause. So, in the instances where the 2016 barangay elections was postponed, this was by legislative act, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
So, the postponement really is a valid act of postponement because it's allowed under the local government code.
Mhm.
Whatever the reason that is, diba, that is something na already not a legal issue, but rather one that is of policy. But I must say that the longer you postpone this election, the longer that the more complications may arise.
Mhm.
Because remember, the postponement will entail the extension of terms of barangay leaders. And
Yes.
remember, kaya din natin ginagawang 3 years sa local elections, for example, sa mayor or sa governor, 'di ba yung term nila, because the policy there is in 3 years time, hindi ka that's not a significant amount of time to, so well, in theory, no, na it's not a significant amount of time to yung parang put to establish roots, a political root in a position. 'Di ba? So parang yan yung theory behind it. Kaya lang 3 years yan. So ganoon din syempre sa barangay, because remember, we are still a democracy. So parang the more you postpone the elections, the more you're creating opportunities for incumbent barangay leaders to somehow entrench themselves in the selection process. And what happens there is baka naman ma-defeat na ang the goal of barangay elections na it should be by actual election. 'Di ba? Kasi the longer you stay in office, 'di ba, the more you can create the impression na that is your office
Yes.
and no longer the people's, 'di ba?
Okay, attorney, alam ko last question yan, pero may follow-up ako. Like for example, they're not, parang nagkulang sila or may dapat silang gawin for the community na hindi nila nagagawa. Saan kami pupunta? Saan kayo mag-report if this is already the first line of parang dapat na makakontakt namin for problems, di ba?
What do you mean? Yung, for example, their obligations
Yes.
as,
Or for example, let's say yung mga ayuda, they weren't able to provide for everybody within their barangay, yung sakop nila. Like, where can we go to?
you can remember though, the barangay is still the smallest unit of government. So parang may hierarchy pa rin din, may hierarchy yan. So kung talaga nagmamatigas yung mga barangay mo, then you have your remedy. You can always go to the local government na may saklaw sa kanila, kasi remember, diba, there's still a degree of control and supervision between, for example, the city and the barangay. Diba? The barangay units are not autonomous regions or autonomous administrative clusters that they have parang, let's say, a degree of discretion on what to do. But they are still under the ambit of a greater political body, which is in this case your local government, or even the DILG, which is the Department of Interior and Local Government. They also have a way to check and balance that. Tapos if it's on an individual level, di ba, yung parang mga barangay na hindi nagbibigay ng ayuda or tinatago yung ayuda, then individually they are also liable for for crimes. Pwedeng baka naman pumasok yan under qualified theft, baka naman pwedeng pumasok yan under graft.
I see.
So they can also be, pwede mo sila i-complain as an individual and not as barangay. Diba? So the remedies are always there. It's just a matter of asking the right people. not me personally, but asking the people who have authority, to do so, and pursuing them, of course.
RC, thank you so much, Attorney, for clarifying that and for answering all of our questions. We once again learned a lot from you. So there we go. Thank you, Attorney, for your time. Weekend na.
Oo nga, happy weekend.
Happy weekend po. Sige po, ingat, Attorney.
Tara na, Ma'am Venice, mag-beer na tayo.
Sige po. Ilan na natin, invite ulit. Okay po. Thank you, Attorney Alfred.
Bye-bye.
There we go. Thank you also, mga katribo, for tuning in. You can watch us always, Legal Diaries, every Fridays at 3:30 p.m. on Tribune Now on YouTube and also on Daily Tribune's Facebook page. I am once again Venice Bautista. Happy weekend. Stay safe.